And you're back. Part 2 of the Garafrax experience coming your way.
Okumarts Games. Okumarts Games. Okumarts Games. Hoorah!
And we're back. Well, last time I talked about the origins of Garafrax, how it comes from a township in my area called Garafraxa, and basically the inspiration, kind of dark fairy tale, Tim Burton-y kind of landscape that's kind of twisted trees and Halloween inspired, spoopy, a little spoopy, dangerous, horrifying, but also, sort of goblin core, this sort of weird fantasy that I think was a lot of fun to draw, and inspired from everything from, like I said, Sleepy Hollow to Homestar Runner, all kinds of inspirations in between. And what I really was inspired by or thinking about was, as I was creating these things, even prog rock came in there with King Crimson. But what I was really thinking as I was narrowing down what I wanted for Garafrax was fairy tales and parts of fairy tales. I had thrown in some elements, like I had a Humpty Dumpty, that showed up. So the storybook fantasy element that I kind of had a love-hate relationship with as a kid. I always kind of rebelled against stories for kids and tried to make up, darker versions of the same stories to kind of amuse myself. But, I think it's kind of a fun way of approaching it. So what I did was I created 3 sets based on individual fairy tales. And I was going to talk a little bit about those in this video. So the first set is technically the 5th Garafrax set to come out, and it came out in 2021, and it came out with another set. It paired up with another set, with number 6, set 6. But set 5 had a dragon. I wanted to have a dragon in this, and I wanted this dragon to be purple. That was very important. But I didn't want the dragon to be this long head thing. I wanted it to be almost more dinosaur-like. And so I did a couple of rough sketches, and that's where I started with this set. And crows. I wanted a lot of crows and ravens. So those 2 things I knew were going to be in the set for sure. Purple became a very big popular color for this set. And as I thought about fairy tales, with dragons and crows and darkness and purple, I immediately thought of Sleeping Beauty. And to me, I thought this would be kind of a fun thing. I could have a Prince Charming, so I have somebody in there with that. I could have Sleeping Beauty, of course, an evil queen, some fairy godmothers in there. Just kind of throw all this stuff in, and I just fully embraced it. Let's go. Let's just put it through the filter of Garafrax, and that's what I did. And I think that my favorite thing about that set, and it's these little bodyguards for the queen, the evil queen, just these really fun characters based on pigs and bats and other monsters and other combination monsters, and they were really fun to draw. Very cartoony, very different, but they kind of fit. It all kind of fits with the setting, which I find quite nice. And so Garafrax set 5 became called Fairy Tale 1. And so I thought I could kind of explore different fairy tales, in these sets from this point for a little while, and have kind of themed sets, and maybe people would respond to something they recognize and feel included and feel like it was part of what they wanted to do, and maybe that would increase the popularity or acceptance of the Garafrax line. I don't know what. But I was kind of curious to see what would happen with releasing this. Very similar response. I think the same people that were interested in that kind of dark fantasy were excited about it, and it's hard to cross over. It's hard to cross over and compete with sort of a Tolkien-like fantasy or a high fantasy, and have this sort of whimsical, dark but whimsical line. It's a tough call, it's a tough mix. And so yeah, so I wanted to address something that was a little bit more familiar with people. So I had all of these things. My second favorite thing about this set is Mr. Owl. He was this fun-looking owl guy with a top hat, a gentleman owl. I don't know, maybe somebody who lives in a tree somewhere, and the characters can interact with. I don't know what, but he was fun to draw, and I like him. I kind of like the wing. He's got wings but hands at the same time. It's just, you got to look at him. So he was fun to kind of design, just a fun character. And of course, the little bodyguard guys, who are, I think, just charming. I think they're a lot of fun. And that big dragon, just kind of, that's the set. That's the set. Set 6, I called Fairy Tale 2, but it's essentially Snow White. And there's a very Snow Whitey character with an apple and a bow and running around, and her dress and her cape. And there are dwarves. And how many dwarves? There's 7. And these dwarves are a little bit different from your typical D&D dwarves. They're maybe a little more gnome-like. They're a little bit more playful. They're a little bit more whimsical, maybe a bit more Slavic in a way, more animal-like. So there's ones that have like little hooves that they're running around on. So the ones that they don't have shoes on, you can see that they have these hooves. Just a little bit different than the standard dwarf. And as I said, when you have characters, if you have a D&D group that goes into this valley, this cursed valley, the curse starts changing the characters to match the setting. And so dwarves start physically changing, elves start physically changing. In this set, I included some sort of these full-on dryad elves, like the half human, half tree, this blue glow coming from them. They're almost like hollowed out tree stumps with like vines. And I was thinking, when I was coming up with this concept for them, of RuneQuest, and there is, instead of elves, they have the Aldrayami. I never knew how to pronounce that. But the Aldrayami basically are elves, but they're based on different trees. So there's different types of elves. They're more specific. It was really kind of a cool background. They were tied to the forest. I think that was a very clever way of doing things. They're all about balance and ecology, right? Ecosystems. And I think that was, to me, that kind of shaped my idea of what I wanted the Garafrax elves to be like, very much so. So I kind of, in fact, made them a little bit more dryad-like than in RuneQuest. So that became a big part of what I wanted to have in this set, because I imagined it would be in a forest, and so I had a white deer as well, and the tiniest little, some of the smallest paper miniatures I've ever made, little bunnies, little birds. You need those for Snow White, because they got to flutter around behind her and sing songs and have her go through adventures, and I think that would be kind of fun. So I had these elves, I had these some bandits, some deer and wildlife, to balance that off. So it's in a forest, obviously. And then, of course, the main set, I had, a Snow White character with a bow and arrow and an apple. The dwarves, I had, some witches, just kind of balance it off. And a woodcutter, a woodcutter that looks like he fell out of a Harlequin romance cover. Essentially, I wanted the Snow White set to be fun. I wanted it to be fun. And I think the little animals, they're hard to cut out. And I think I've lost one. I can't find them all. But he might just be misfiled. So what I've done with my Garafrax sets is I put them in a separate binder, it's called Garafrax. And so all the miniatures from those sets I keep in here, keep them separate. I just want to make sure that I know where things are, and there's cross-pollination, because I'm digging into that binder all the time to get miniatures for different things I'm running. If I need something like birds or something like that, I've got crows in there, I've got little birds, I can put them in there. So yeah, I mine it quite a bit. So that was the 6th set, the Snow White set, which I was quite happy with. I really liked how that turned out. So I put out the sort of Sleeping Beauty and Snow White set together. Boom, dropped them. And, of course, that was in 2021. That was, just coming in the end of COVID. And next year I put another one out. So in 2022, I put out a Fairy Tale Set 3, and it was kind of based on Cinderella. Because the first thing I wanted to have a carriage, a 3D model carriage that was a pumpkin. I really want to buy those electric pumpkins that you can get, on the internet from different places. But I'm sure they're only like $7,000, but I'm sure the shipping would kill you. And they're not street legal. I can't just drive on the highway with this pumpkin car as much as I want to. But I made a paper model of this pumpkin carriage, and I made some mice valets and coachmen, and I thought that would be, that'd be kind of fun. And then I also had to think, well, what's pulling this? Horses? Just didn't seem right. So I put big mice. It's just big mice. I thought, that's terrifying. See these mice come running down the street, hauling this pumpkin with wheels and lanterns on it. That's what I did. So I put that together first. I think that was the first thing I did. And then I created the sort of Cinderella and the prince, and he's holding a shoe, of course. And of course the wicked stepmother and the sisters, and a good fairy, a blue fairy. And then of course I have some, little mouse people, and then just some other random characters that I put in there, kind of elf-like characters that I put in, because I still had a few ideas left over from the old set, and I wanted to kind of finish that off, and so I put them in there. And I really liked the way this set came out, and it looks great when it's all together. It holds up, and it just fits. It fits, and it's got a great concept. So that was kind of the last set. The 7th set of Garafrax was the last set that I put out so far of the line. And then I was like, I just need a break from the set. I mean, it hadn't really broken through people's imaginations, and I think people were thinking, well, what am I going to use this for? And I think that's a practical question. So I've had ideas for Garafrax sets, but I have kind of put them aside. I think maybe my next step into Garafrax might be to create it as a game setting, maybe for something like Shadow Dark. I think it would fit really well with Shadow Dark. Somebody suggested Mork Borg, but that would work too. But I think Shadow Dark has the flexibility and the support in other ways that might make it more fun for me. I played it sort of elements of it using the white box, Swords and Wizardry white box, and I kind of liked how it felt. I think Shadow Dark would fit thematically. I think Mork Bork would fit thematically as well, but it would be even darker. So I think Shadow Dark might work because it's a little bit more whimsical, and there's a little bit maybe more hope involved. But I do like the sort of cursed village nature. I had run a couple of adventures set in there for the D&D club at the high school I taught at, and I thought it was really, their reaction was great. They really loved it, especially the kind of horror aspect of it. How there's this terrifying aspect of the setting. That really kind of fired their imaginations with their characters, and that was 5th edition D&D. I think it thematically worked really well with that. But I mean, we'll see. So I think the next step might be to work on it maybe as a zine, to develop a setting, maybe a bestiary of creatures, maybe character ancestries and classes that might be specific to Garafrax. Who knows? If you have any ideas, let me know in the comments, of course. And I think it'd be kind of fun to have a sort of dark fantasy fairy tale setting to play in. I think there's a lot there, and there's a ton of material out there with the Brothers Grimm and other folk tales that have been whispered through time immemorial, and they all have horrible endings. they've been cleaned up for children's consumption in the 19th and 20th century. But there's some really grim tales out there. Anyway, let me know what you think. Leave a comment. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. What are you doing? Subscribe. Come on, let's go. You know how to do it. Just click that button. You can do it. Anyway, there you go. I will see you later. Thanks for sticking around for a two-parter, and toodaloo. I really want to buy those electric pumpkins that you can get, on the internet from different places. But I'm sure they're only like $7,000, but I'm sure the shipping would kill you.